pick up a magazine and count how many times you see someone that looks like me and count how many times you see someone that looks like you.
Today we're in Charleston, South Carolina to talk with model, female entrepreneur, and artist Venita Aspen. Her modeling career has led her to work for companies like Target, Old Navy, and Anthropologie. She also runs her own creative agency, servicing clients around the world. So welcome to the show. Thank you for sitting down with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. You got it all set up and looking beautiful.
I've been really looking forward to this for a long time.
Same.
What do you think is something that unique to women and female entrepreneurs? What do you think are some unique struggles that they face that others don't?
Being a female. Mm-hmm. That's it. I never have had the mindset of I can't do something because I'm a female. But like as the older I get, the more I realize that like there are a lot of people out there that don't think that females can do the same thing as a male as far as business goes and strategizing and having these $1 million companies, or even, just companies that help a community. They just don't think that females are capable of it. And it's so crazy to say because we're moving into 2020 and it's like, you guys still think that, not you.
Jordan still thinks.
I felt like when I said that was very directed.
No. I don't.
But like individuals and people still think, even some females, we can't put it all on the males, still think that like women shouldn't, or why would they want to do something like that?
Or if I were a female, because I don't want to do this, who does she think she is for doing
for
this?
Being able to do it, or for like wanting to do this by herself? Like who gave her the ability to do that, and why don't I have it? Something that I also have to look at is I'm a black female. So like, that puts me, this is the highest point. That puts me down here from jump, just because the stigmas and, black female entrepreneurs aren't valued the same as their white counterparts. So like, those are all the things that I used to not focus on because I was like, oh, I can't let something like that hold me back. Like I did not get here because of X, Y, and Z. I got here because I worked hard, or this or that or this. And it's like, now as I get older, I have to like put those stigmas into my thought process of how I go out when I reach out to someone, or how I respond to someone. And if I don't like something or how they're treating me, I can't just react like most people. I have to think about my reaction, then react. So
if, I don't even know where I'm going with this, but in my mind I'm thinking, if a male shows passion towards something, let's say a white male shows passion, well then he's driven and whatever.
Yes.
But then if like a black female shows passion or screams or whatever, somebody's interpreting that differently. Right?
Yeah. And it's solely because they're black, and it's like it's very difficult, especially being from Charleston. Charleston's
And so thinking back to that is now I have to sit and think, okay, well, because I haven't been exposed to certain things, how do I now think about the world?
Right.
And so the only way that I've understood another side politically or socially is just by like actually talking to people.
Right. You don't realize how, until you step out into the world on your own, you don't realize how sheltered people actually are. Like, there's a lot of people still who have never seen someone a different race than them. And it's like crazy to say out loud, except for when they go to like the grocery store or something like that, but it's not in their immediate. So it's just like this weird thing. And like, people are just so sheltered. And it took me a while to like be okay knowing that like some people are just super sheltered and they're never going to be able to get out of that, because I have such a open mindset, and like, I can think about both sides, or at least I like to think I can think about both sides of the story.
I'm trying.
I
feel like now one thing that's big in our society is people, if they don't know anyone who's gay, then they automatically put it into the stigma of saying, oh, well, that could never be my child, or that could never be my family member, or that could never be my friend. And it's like, okay, well, have you ever sat down with someone, or have you ever been friends with someone, or even known anyone? What I've found is when social issues become a real person instead of this news-driven topic, then you begin to actually understand, oh, since this person was a child, they've dealt with this, or they've felt this culturally, or they've felt this in the world. And so for me, that's how I feel like I've started to understand things, is just to like listen to people that don't look like me. And I'm not perfect in that, but I'm also, I'm also realizing that maybe like ignorance isn't personal towards people, it's just ignorance.
It's just ignorance.
Yeah.
Because there's no way.
Doesn't make it right. But
No,
it's like,
no.
I've found in my life at certain times, I've taken things really personally that certain people have said to me, but then I'm like, oh, this is actually a reflection of who they are.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with
Not
you.
me.
Yeah, nothing to do with you.
Social media, Instagram, imposter syndrome. Comparison, like
Yes.
we all deal with it, but you know, how do you think that comes about? And then for me, it's almost felt like waves of like, I'll feel really great about myself and what I'm
Yes.
doing for a week, and I'll be really focused and really
Yes.
driven. And then
Yes.
another day I could feel like I literally can't do anything.
It's difficult. I felt like I would never be the individual to struggle with I'm comparing myself, because I would always say, oh yeah, like don't compare yourself to anything, just do what you want to do, like live your life for you. And like, I mean, these last 6 months, I mean, the amount of time I have spent comparing myself to what others are doing and trying to work my way out of that, I think I've lost hundreds of hours, like easily. It's hard because like social media brought us here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then like social media also is like, everything has a bad side, you know, unfortunately. There's there's an evil side to everything.
And someone said that money doesn't change people, it just shows more of who they really are.
Yeah.
So I would say the same with social media or a following. We're just portraying more of who we are, and the way that I was probably going to be insecure whether or not I had social media. It's now just expanded.
Now you can see it more.
Yeah. Or like, we were going to compare ourselves to our neighbor. Now we just do it through social media.
Right,
like,
keeping up with the Joneses. It's the same. Like, you're right, keeping up with your neighbor, you know, because if so-and-so always had a nice car, you'd be like, oh, well, maybe I should like get a nice car because we live in the same neighborhood, so like, why don't I have a nice car?
Yeah.
But that comparison is now like, I mean, you can compare yourself to thousands of people in less than 30 minutes just by...
If you could put into words like the bigger vision for what your life and what you're trying to do through your work, what would you say about that kind of keeps you going and saying, you know, yeah, you can put me in this box and call me this or call me that, but like, here's the bigger vision of like what I want the world to see through my life?
Representation. Even in the world we live in now, with everyone being more comfortable with being themselves on a more consistent basis, the lack of representation is still very strong. And that was kind of my goal when I got started at 16. I was like, why don't I see this girl? So like, I'm just going to put myself here. And that's how I got started. So that representation is going to carry me until I'm not working anymore. That's always my end all goal, is to make sure that everyone is represented and people who look like me are represented. And yeah, that was a really good question. That was a really good
10
question.
episodes in,
Yes,
you
asked the greatest question.
And I wouldn't have asked it if I didn't think it was there. Like, I see that through your brand, and you know, there's always that. I think if we can't find something above our work that's like, okay, this is purpose, this is impact, then it's like, at some point there's not enough money, there's not enough success, there's not enough notoriety that like pushes you through some of those days that are like, representation matters. And like, for me, I just not thought through what that meant in like living in the world that I grew up in. I didn't understand it. But if you were to explain that to someone who says, maybe I don't understand fully, like I know what it means, but like, what does it mean to actually begin to feel that as someone who grew up as a child and didn't see representation, you know?
Pick up a magazine and count how many times you see someone that looks like me, and count how many times you see someone that looks like you. Flip through your TV channels. How many people look like you and how many people look like me? You can count it on your hands. So it's like that. It's almost like, how could you not? But if you're the majority, I understand how someone can't see it, because if you were to pick up a magazine, you'll see a white male in every other ad you flip through.
Yeah.
I might see a black female, but I'll see a black female with straight hair, or I'll see a black female that has strong European features, you know? That's what I would use to explain that, is pick up a magazine and count how many times you see someone that looks like you, and count how many times you see someone that looks like me. Yeah. And I mean like me, tried and true, like my complexion, my hair type, my height,
Do you think about that when you're modeling, as far as like that people are looking at you as their representation?
Oh yeah, 100%. Because if someone looks through a magazine or anything like that and they don't see themselves, like what is that telling them? They're not good enough. You're not good enough to be in this ad. You're not pretty enough to be in this photo, or your body size is not right for us. We don't want you in our ads.
I feel like, and I could be wrong, that we've seen representation shift to, okay, well, on our magazine ad, we're going to represent. On our commercial, we're going to represent.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen the shift. I feel like we're getting there with that. But behind the scenes, we're probably still lacking. Meaning, how many people on that shoot are female leads and black or people of color or different races or different sexualities? Like, we've seen representation shift to the masses, but have we there has to be behind the scenes in businesses, in corporate companies.
That's where the representation lacks the most, I think.
It's not visible to us, so we just don't think about it.
Because people are becoming so thrilled with the representation, like Delta. Delta has done a 360 on their ads. Complete 360. And I just fear that it's a moment, and it's going to only be a moment because people are going to be comfortable because they're like, oh, now we see everyone now, so it's enough, and it's just going to go back to the same old.
Or it's like we have a Muslim on the ad, but we saw people looking at Muslims funny on the plane.
Yes.
Like there's the reality of
or
life.
In the airport, and it's like it's still not enough. I feel like people are power, and if you want to get something done, people have to not be afraid of continuing to stand up for what they believe is right, And I always try to remind myself, never lose the spark that you had in the beginning. Why did I want to do what I do now? What got me here? What kept me going every single day is because I wanted to be in a space where I didn't see myself. And I did it, and that's what kept me going and going and going. Like, that spark is what still drives me, like even as today, it like drives me to like want to work with certain brands, because it's like I am still the 16-year-old girl who wants to be in a space where she normally doesn't see herself, because there's other 16-year-olds, there's other little girls that still don't see themselves in the space that I'm in. So it's like, that is my spark, that's my drive, and it like keeps me going. So like being able to never lose that spark, and always being able to pull to that for motivation and like push. But the moment that the spark is gone, or you feel like you've accomplished, what's next?
Working hard is one of the big misconceptions of working for yourself, because we do live in an age that glorifies working for yourself, and it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Yes.
I think it's a beautiful thing. I'm never one to speak bad of it, but at the same time, I think the realities of saying, because I now don't have a 9-to-5, I just work you just work whenever you want, Vinita. Oh. And like, that is said in a positive term, but then when I re-say it to myself is, oh, that just means that even if I'm not working, I'm thinking about working, and even if I'm trying to rest, it's mentally working. Because there is that reality of anytime I'm working, it's a chance for me to raise my income, create a different life for myself, and so
there's no off switch when it comes to working for yourself. People are like, oh, like you said, people are just say, oh, it's so great, you must love it, you must get to do whatever you want when you want, and it's like, yeah, but if I'm not working, there's no income. So like, and I say this a lot to my peers, but like, having a 9-to-5, even if you hate it at the time, it's still a luxury, because you have the dependency of knowing when your income is coming in. Unlike us, where it's like, okay, some months are slow and we don't know why, and it just happens, and like that's the month that we lose, and it's like you struggle with the, okay, am I going to do this for the rest of my life? Like, do I get the 9-to-5? Do I go back to pursue whatever it is like studied in college? Like, how is this going to pan itself out?
Yeah.
But
if someone pursues this and has a great 5 years or a great 10 years or a great 15 years, it's like, if you end up going into another job, that's not failure, but our culture has made it look like, oh, you didn't succeed.
Yeah.
But maybe we're undervaluing that was just a life experience that we needed, or you needed, or whoever.
The person that you work for is busy. That's why you don't see them. on the, you know, in your workplace ever, because they're building everything that pays your bills. So like, I have to be busy so I can build everything to pay my bills, and then it'll start to, once I get into a motion and like, or like a schedule, it'll slow down.
It's so hard to accept that nobody else, just like no one's going to create space for you to work, like no one else is going to create a space for you to rest,
or
for you to have me time. Like nobody else is concerned about that but you. And so there's some level of force that has to combat those things coming into your life to actually create that space for yourself.
Yeah, that's a good point.
We're a work in progress.
Yes,
this is
work in progress.
It's a therapy session.
Yes, we are a work in progress.
Some people are really, really happy with the side hustle. But they wouldn't be happy with it as a full-time gig. And so let's not downplay like the beauty of the side hustle and saying I can make a couple $1,000s extra a month by doing this on the weekends or at nights. Like that's a beautiful thing if it makes you happy. And don't always think that it has to, the next step has to be full-time. It being your full-time life in business, you know.
I feel like that thought process kills a lot of businesses because they lose the passion for it, and it just turns into this thing that they no longer like, and then they leave it, and then someone else takes it over or someone else buys it, and it's just not the same anymore.
You know, what are some things that you're hearing from people that, you know, or even creative and artists, like they're just pursuing these things in their life? What are some common threads that you're hearing, and maybe just speak to that?
Oh, how did you get started? If I could get $1 for every time I heard how did I get started, I'd be a millionaire, and I'm not just saying that. How do I get started? I literally get that question 5 times a day, and my answer is the same. Start. Being that we live in a world that everything looks so perfect all the time, people aren't willing to make the small mistakes we did in the beginning. You know, I spent almost 10 years building. Woo! That's not expecting to say that.
You needed to say that for yourself.
I needed to say that for myself. That was hard. I mean.
So you build something for 10 years, but then you feel bad for saying no to a lunch. Like that's what I'm thinking about. You're like, oh my gosh, I've put 10 years into something. You know, I've done mine for 5 years, but I feel bad for not going to a networking event or a party. But I'm not, you know, it's like you spend something for 10 years, but then you're like, oh, I feel guilty for protecting this thing that I've spent 10 years on, you know, like.
And, you know, and I have to start looking at it as my baby. These are my children, my work, they're my kids. And if it was a matter of tucking my child in at night or going to a party, I would tuck my child in at night. I wouldn't go to the party.
That's a great
point.
I
need to look at my work like that. I need to tuck my work in every single time someone asks me to do something that I'm not wanting to do. I need to protect that, because if I lose that, the person 9 times out of 10 that's reaching out to me, they have that safety net. I don't have that.
Yeah. Someone said that like discipline is what creates freedom. I think for me, I'm trying to learn that of like, I always think, well, I just want to be free and go do something and have fun. But it's like, oh, if I'm actually disciplined today, then I have the freedom to then do what I want with my time, you know. Thanks so much for watching. Leave your thoughts or questions in the comment section below and I'll reply to each one of them. Also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you're interested in more videos on faith, creativity, and entrepreneurship.